A good horror game is something special. It is not able just to challenge us with its gameplay or tell a good story, but to scare us, to haunt our dreams and idle thoughts, even to make us question our own perceptions of reality. In this podcast, we meet the developers of both existing popular horror titles and hotly anticipated upcoming games to discuss how they do it, what inspires them, and all things spooky and unnerving. Welcome to Talking Terror, the official podcast of the Horror Game Awards.
Hello and welcome to Talking Terror, the official podcast of the Horror Game Awards. As ever, we're your hosts, Phil and Will.
Hello.
And today we are delighted to be joined by Roberto from Red Soul Games, the creators of the upcoming survival horror game Post Trauma. So, hi, Roberto.
Hello.
So, Post Trauma obviously was a game which kind of caught everyone's attention when it was first highlighted at the Game Awards 2 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, 2022, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Time
I thought it was
flies.
sooner, but no, yeah, it does.
So I mean, before we talk about that, and do you want to kind of tell us about kind of who you are and where your background is from this, and like I suppose how you got
Sure.
into wanting to make a survival horror game?
Yeah, I mean, well, my name's Roberto. You already know that, but about how I got into horror games, it was like I always liked them, but I must confess I'm really bad at playing them because I get really easily scared with horror games. So, some people are like, "Oh, you'll be like immune to that." No, I'm not. Like, for example, horror movies, I can watch them no problem. Movies, no, almost no movie scares me, but games, nope. And before I started doing post trauma, I was in another studio. It was called Digital Sun, and I've been there for like I think 8 years or something doing indie games. But I was like, then COVID happened, and I was like, I can keep doing this. I want to do something of my own, and I have to do it now. And with the pandemic and being closed in your home and everything, it was like I have to do something with my life, or I'm going to get depressed. So I decided to do a demo for post trauma, and a lot of people on Twitter started retweeting it, getting likes, getting attention. I was like, wait, what's happening here? Maybe I can leave my current job and start focusing on this game, and that's what I did. And I still can't believe right now what's happening, because I feel like what's happening, but yeah, it's not my first game. I did other games in the past, so that's why I knew more or less what I had to do. But still, it's a challenge, because before was a big. This week it was a not big team, but somewhat big team, and now it's like we're like 4 people right now.
Yeah.
5. I don't know. And when I started, it was only me myself. So yeah, it's been tough, but worth it. Like I will repeat it 100%.
So a very different enterprise taken on with like 5 people than with a much larger team. Then
Yeah, I mean, it was an indie team before. We were like, when I joined the team back in the day, we were like 9, and when I left, they were like 40, 50 people. I don't know.
Wow.
We grew up. We grew a lot, but still, I was not happy with the type of games. Like, it was not my type of game. I always wanted to do horror, and I need to be honest. Like, I never thought I could pitch a horror game to a publisher, because horror is a genre that, well, you know it. It has a lot of players, but for a publisher, it's risky, because there's a lot of. I don't want to be mean, but like, there's a lot of variety of level of the quality of games there. Like there are a lot of good horror games, and there are a lot of games that are horror, but it's just for one afternoon, and that's done. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just another thing that publishers are not interested in that. And I needed a publisher if I wanted to do this game, because I didn't
Of
have
course.
money to do it on my own.
Yeah.
So I was scared with like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a publisher for a horror game, but I did, and it's going very well right now. But it was a risky decision. Like, if you're going to do games on your own, I wouldn't suggest horror, to be honest. But yeah, if you know what you're doing and you have a little bit of lag, which I have, go for it. Yeah.
But I think just coming back to what you were saying about being surprised by the reaction, as you say, there's a lot of, I suppose, copy and paste horror games out there that are very kind of like, a lot of them were like PT clones and that kind of thing. But at the same time, particularly like bigger games have kind of strayed away from the kind of horror, obviously, that post-trauma represents in terms of survival horror. Is something that those of us who've been around and fans of the genre for a long time have grew up on Resident Evil, Silent Hill. We've been wanting this kind of more of these kind of games for a long time, and we're getting more of them now. It feels like in the recent years, but certainly that like, particularly at the point where you put the trailer out, that definitely filled a void where it felt like there's not as many of them.
No, yeah, I get what you mean a lot. Like, the initial thing with post-trauma, because back again about leaving my job, I started doing another game that had nothing to do with horror, and I was doing post-trauma just for myself, because, as you said, there was a gap in games, and I'm a big fan of fixed cameras. It doesn't matter if it's in horror games or any other type of game, because as a game developer, I feel like with fixed cameras, you can show what you want, do the art how you want, and do a lot of tweaks behind the scenes to show what you want. So, and there wasn't a lot of games like that back in the day. And with horror, it's the same. Like, I'm really bad with horror games, like playing them, but I feel it's because a lot of them tend to go for the jump scare or the in your face type of horror, which is something that I'm not against it. It's just it's not my type. And for example, I can play Silent Hill, I can play Resident Evil. My favorite game is Dead Space. I like more Dead Space than Silent Hill or Resident Evil. I'm sorry, but I like it a lot. It's the way how they present you things. I can play those games and have a lot of fun, even if they are horror games. But for example, I really can't play games like Amnesia, for example. I get too. I can't. Like, I am expecting a jump scare happening at any moment, and I'm like, I can play it. I'm too scared. So it's not for me. Like, it's a fine balance, and I feel like now we're getting more type of that type of horror. Like, for example, Alan Wake. I really loved it. The Resident Evil remakes, the Dead Space remake, and also in indie games like Signalis was awesome. So it's like now it's coming back. I think, like, at least within the AAA space. I mean, indie games, it's always been there, but I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, I ramble a lot. I forgot the initial question. So
no, that's fine. I mean, I think you're right. It definitely does feel like we're in the middle of a revival of horror and also specifically survival horror, because I think it feels like we talked about survival horror on this podcast probably more than any other part of horror. Like, certainly definitely. With the stuff that's coming up and different developers we've spoke to. So, I mean, was that the kind of, you mentioned obviously being a Dead Space fan in particular, but also Resident Evil and Silent Hill, was that kind of when you were like gaming when you were younger as a kid? Is that the kind of games you gravitated towards, or
not really? Like, when I grew up, I didn't have a PlayStation. I had a GameCube. Like, I'm a big Smash Brothers fan, and I only played horror games at my friends' houses. Like, for example, Silent Hill or my cousin. So So I didn't play Silent Hill until I was pretty. I think I played it like I don't know 8 years ago or something, and I'm 31, so I played them pretty old. Like, and my first game was Silent Hill 4. So that's why it's my favorite, because it was my introduction to Silent Hill.
Yeah.
But I know the others are like better in other aspects. Well, better overall. But for me, it's my sweet spot. But it's not what I agree with. Like, I grew up with Legend of Zelda, for example. I have the Triforce on my back. Like, I grew up with other type of games. Like, for example, one thing I already love about my favorite game of all time, for example, is Majora's Mask, which is a Zelda that's a little bit in the creepy side. But what I always liked about those type of games is the puzzles. And that's something I got again in horror games, like the puzzles. Like, oh, so I can get puzzles in a thing that's not Zelda, but with a setting that's creepy. I like this. So I started playing horror games when I was more older. But when I was growing up, total, like, it's not a thing of nostalgia for me. Well, a little bit of nostalgia 8 years ago or 10 years ago. It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But not because when I was a kid.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I can see the continuity, because obviously horror games are essentially action adventure games, right? But creepy. You got the same, that formula of like go around, have a bit of action, solve a puzzle, do a bit more, that sort of thing. So, I mean, with post trauma, then I suppose for anyone who may not be familiar with it or may not have seen much beyond the initial trailer and keen to know more, like, how much can you tell us in terms of the story, what it's about, and like what we can expect?
Okay, let me think about how much I can tell and how much I can say. But what I can say, it's like the story. It's about Roman, which is pretty old for a game protagonist. Our official year was 57 years old, but it might be a little bit older with what we have right now in game. But that doesn't stop him for being able to defend himself. So people don't have to worry about that. Like, and I will never change the design of Roman because I love him. I got a lot of comments about like, oh, you should change the design. I don't like it, but at the same time, I had a lot of people defending him. I care about those, so I'm sorry if you don't like the playing as an old man. It is what it is. But it's about this person that's awakened in a strange place and has to get out. I know it sounds very cliche, but that's mostly it, because the weird things that happen there, everything has a reason, but I can't tell you why without spoiling
Of course, yeah.
why everything's happening. But I mean, with the name of the game and playing up something, something happened to him, so that's why he's there. I am not super subtle with the name of the game, but it's mostly that. Like, instead of, I don't want to compare it, but instead of going into Silent Hill, it's like escaping from Silent Hill. It's not a town. He's not in a town. He's not in a two parallel events or something like that. It's more. Well, I was going to say it's more simple than that, but no, it's not. It's not simple at all. We have a lot of lore behind the scenes to make the world have meaning. Like we have, or in our internal narrative document, we have a lot of behind the scenes about why everything's there. But I don't know how much we will explain inside the game. It's mostly for us to everything we add has a continuity and makes sense.
Okay.
But we will try to answer most of the big questions about why he's there, how can he escape, why there are monsters there, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of space for YouTubers to come in and like go, right, here's a video of like a few hours talking about what this actually means. And
yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah, I mean, it won't be as deep as zooming into everything, because as a small team we have to buy a lot of assets and adapt them to the game, so we can model everything from scratch so it makes sense into the deeper
course.
lore. Like, for example, if you see a map, I don't know, of California, it doesn't mean like it's happening in California. It's because we have bought assets from a school back, and you had to okay, do this thing, this. We always try to rework everything and rework all the textures and rework everything so it makes sense into the lore. But there might be some things that have escaped us. So if you're going to zoom into every book in the game, it's not that deep. But the obvious stuff will be there, and the custom art we have, I'm really proud of it. Like, I can't wait to be able to show what the artists have done, because it's amazing.
I know, definitely. We can't wait to see more. I know it's but obviously a classic part of survival horror games is that they have many stories to tell within the game, and obviously we'll have different endings or multiple endings. Will Post Trauma feature multiple endings, or is it just one story through?
I don't know if I can answer that, but saying this, I might be already answering it. So, but there's a canon ending, at least for ourselves, and that's what I can say. What I can tell you is it's not a game with 20 different endings, and you have to play the whole thing to get like. No, I never like that. For example, for myself, I know some people have, and that's also a lot of money to do.
Yeah, of course,
we're still small, so yeah. But I'm sorry, I can't explain.
No problem at all.
So we can't reveal that there's a secret ending where it's actually a dog behind it all.
Yeah, I wish I could have that one.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got the kind of fixed camera angle aesthetic, and then there's a definite, like, that sort of Silent Hill style otherworldliness to it. Like, which kind of beyond that, like, which specific games did you draw on in terms of what you wanted it to feel like, if you were trying to like compare it to other games, or like which you took inspiration from?
For me, the biggest one, it's Silent Hill 4, because I always like I think it's a good amount of seriousness and not taking itself very serious. At least that's the feel I got when I played it, because one moment you are like in a horror environment, and then the next moment you are flirting with someone, so you're like, this is weird, but weird in a good way. And I also liked my biggest experience, not for this game, but in general. As I said, Majora's Mask, it's a game that I always like, because it's playing. Even if it's a game for kids, the I don't know how to say it, the themes it touches is like about depression, about this person who wants to give up, or this person that's heartbroken, or I like a lot how that ties into the game, and how the characters have believable responses to what's happening around them. I don't know. And of course, Resident Evil, about fixed cameras, a little bit of the combat. Like, we are not a combat heavy game, but we added some weapons there that I'm really proud of. And I think one of them is really weird, and I really like that one. So it's like a good amount between. The game is mostly Silent Hill type of puzzles, with a little bit of the Resident Evil combat. I like a little bit, because still we are a small team. We don't have a lot of money to spend on animations, but we try to make it not as clunky as the original Silent Hill games, because even if I love the games, the combat there is rough. So at least if you shoot a shotgun, it should make you feel like powerful, how you use it, or if you use a knife or whatever. Like, I don't say those are the weapons in there, but it's like the feeling of using it. about Dead Space, what I really liked about Dead Space is the sound design. Like, I feel like that game uses really well the noises to make you scared. Like, even if nothing's happening on the screen, just hearing someone on the ceiling, you're like, oh, something's coming for me. But only that, because Dead Space is like an action game. It's not, well, it's a horror game, but it's an action game. I don't know if it's survival or not, because I'm really bad with defining genres, but it's so. I think that's it. There will be other reference that I'm leaving behind, because I can't point every single reference, but yeah, I'm sure I'm leaving a lot of time. The PT, for example, I love the pacing of the original. Well, original, the only thing we have of PT, but the pacing of Lisa and how much it weighs between scaring you and giving you peace, scaring you, giving you peace. I'm not saying there will be like a house, because the environments we have in our game are bigger. Not bigger, but different. But I really like how they did with the leaving you time to rest and then scaring you, rest, scare you. I think that they did really good there. Yeah, I'm sure there will be more, but those are the ones that come to my mind right now.
Yeah.
And is it when you kind of drawn on this and like creating the story for this? Is it mostly games you've drawn from, or is there any kind of other like books or films or anything like you've drawn on?
The story has changed a lot, and I mean a lot. Like, for example, I'm going to tell you the first idea for Sharma. Like, you want to do a game about it, go for it. Yeah. Because now it doesn't have anything from that. Back in the day, the game was even only first person, so imagine how much has changed. But their first design was like, I had an idea of, like, there was this experiment that took a building into a parallel dimension, and each floor you go up, it's some weird stuff. And when you go to the top floor, you can leave, but someone will take your place. And this guy, the protagonist, go back again. So in order to not go back again, he had to do a lot of puzzles that he only knew the solution of. So I don't know, a lot of weird things. Yeah. But this one was like, I had an idea that I refined a little bit. And then I presented it to a writer that I can't tell you the name right now, but he's really awesome. I loved working with him. He did an amazing job. He's a professional writer. Because even if I had the structure in my head, I didn't know how to get from point A to point B, and how to do the dialogues, because first, I am not a native speaker, and secondly, if you try to write dialogue without being a writer, I think it shows. So, and with his help and a lot of ideas from the team, because even if I had an idea in my head, then someone comes and says, "What if we do this?" And you're like, "Oh, that makes more sense." Or sometimes the artist does like a super, like, I don't know how to, like, a concept art of something that looks fucking amazing. You're like, now I have to add this. By the way, it doesn't make sense. Okay, we will change the story so we can include this amazing thing in. So it evolved a lot. So about the sources, it's like, I can't tell you the sources if it's movies or books, because it's mostly from people like around me. I think that's the short version. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's very interesting, particularly about how it evolved and almost kind of, I suppose, it sounds like it took on a life of its own, like kind of moving away from your initial idea to what it became.
Yeah, I mean, when we signed the game, I already had the more final. It doesn't. It's not that it has changed a super lot, but from the initial idea, from when I was doing it on my free time, yes. But from the beginning of the actual development to the end, I would say it has evolved a little bit, yeah, but in a good way. I like this story right now a lot more than what we started with, and I really like what we started with, but now it feels like it has a reason to be there, and I like the lore behind it, so it's
No, definitely. No, obviously a big part of horror games is obviously the enemies that we have to face in the darkness and stuff. So what can we expect in terms of enemies in Post Trauma? Because I know you said it's not a very combat heavy game.
yeah. So it's not a combat heavy game, but I must say we have a lot of enemies, like a lot more than what I expected when I started working with. But because we got an animator working with us full time, we were able to include more stuff than we initially thought. So now I'm having trouble about where to add the enemies in the game, like more than if add enemies or not. Like at the beginning, it was like, oh, we have this many levels and this many enemies. Okay, maybe we have to repeat this enemy here, this enemy here. Now I'm more like, okay, we have this many enemies and this many levels. How we do it? But yeah, but it's still it's not the focus of the game. It's more like the focus of the game is puzzles, but you have to be scared of dying, because if you're not scared of dying, it loses tension after a bit. Like you can maintain the tension for maybe an hour or something, but after that, if you are not afraid of dying, you lose the spark. So yeah, but I'm really proud of the amount of enemies we have, and the designs. Some of the ideas, like one of them came from the quality assurance from reviewing, was like, what if we did this merge with this thing? And I was like, what the fuck, Linda? And then they got the artist there on top of that, drove that, and was like, oh, okay, it really works. It's super fucking creepy. I like it. So yeah.
So we can expect something twisted monstrosities.
Yeah, what I tried to help in the like I haven't designed any of those. Like it's not within the demo. I tried to give that to the concept artist because he's very amazing on that. But the direction I tried to give him is more like enemies have to be creepy, but not lean into the zombie style or Resident Evil, because Resident Evil is more like gross. This is more like in the you could kill them in real life, but you wouldn't want to get near them. Something like that. And there are also some things that you could not realistically fight in real life, but this is a game, so you have to. But yeah, it's more into the creepy side than the gross side. I don't know how to define it.
So obviously the focus you're saying like is less on those and more on the puzzles. I forget where it was I saw it, but I read something about saying like for solving these puzzles you need like to take notes
notepad?
and a notepad. So are we expecting these puzzles to like stump some players for days on end, or how complex are we talking?
I hope not. Like okay, my idea with the puzzles, it's mostly what I did on the original demo. Like I think a puzzle has to be like hard, but if someone tells you the solution, you should be like, oh, you are right, I was overcomplicating it, or I didn't see it. If someone tells you a solution, you are like, yeah, okay, but that's bullshit. Then you failed designing the puzzle. Like, for example, the puzzle in the demo was like you have to add the intersections. So when people told you the solution, you were like, oh, I was doing like math equations or like trying to subtract things. And you're like, no, I was. That's the idea with the puzzles. Like every puzzle, when you figure out the solution or someone tells you, you should be like, okay, it makes sense. But we also try to do a mix of easy puzzles and hard puzzles
Mm.
because a lot of the puzzles are like, just get a key, open this door. The puzzle itself is find the key. You have to search for it. And about the notepad is because the game won't remember things for you. Like if there's a code that and someone tells you the code, or if it's written in a wall, you have to write it down yourself and go into the keypad and write that code. You don't have a menu for nodes that you encounter, for example. Because I really miss that era of writing things yourself down. So I don't know. And we always try to not, if you have to go back and forth into places, not putting them super far away. So we'll try to guide you a little bit, but not handhold you too much. Like that's the more or less the approach with puzzles. Like some of them will be easy, some of them we will have to think a little bit more. But the idea is that none of them are super no bullshit. It's just most road. You have to think, but don't overthink it.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And let's see if we will see if we got this or not. But for now, I'm pretty happy with all the puzzles we have in there. Yeah.
That's cool. No, that's what I think I've missed as well. Where obviously, where you have to take notice of everything in the environment, and obviously the littlest hints of like how things are lined up and that sort of thing. I think that's what I really miss because sometimes you can end up just be, oh, I've got to just cycle through my documents and try and find some code or whatever, and then it's a lot less, as you said, like handholdy kind of thing.
And I get it because I get why they do that, but if you try to make everyone happy, you won't make anyone happy. I don't know if that's a saying in English or not, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So what you said about, for example, in a lot of Resident Evil puzzles, what you say about scroll about the documents and you see a number in green. Oh, that's the combination. So it's like, I get it, but I had more fun with the other puzzle when I had to figure it out on my own instead of you giving me the straight answer to it. And nowadays, it's not like back in the day. Like I prefer the player being able to solve 9 puzzles on his own and being extremely accomplished about that. And if he's stuck with one, nowadays you can always search online for it. I hope you don't have to do it, but it's not like back on the day where you are like, if you don't know the solution to that puzzle, you will stuck there because there was nowhere to find the solutions were.
No, exactly.
Nowadays it's okay. I will look at it like, oh, I was and then maybe for the next puzzle you will try to think it about yourself a little bit more. I don't know.
No, definitely.
You don't have to wait till the next issue of a game magazine comes out.
I remember that.
Or I think some games even had telephone helplines as well.
Oh, yes, I remember.
If you got stuck. But those days are past.
No, long gone. But no, it's
no. We didn't have those in Spain because there was the numbers and they were like in English and we're like, well, okay. I was going to pick it up, but I had to wait for the magazines. Or ask a friend, and that friend knows another friend. Like, hey, we traded the cartridges. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I really also miss that, like, asking a friend about help in something I don't know if you're stuck with instead of looking it online. But
it
is what it is.
No, I also liked it with you could also adjust on some games. You could adjust the puzzle difficulty, not just the game difficulty. So obviously, it's not the same puzzle for every level. You could adjust it and make it even harder.
Yeah,
that's what I think is missing as well.
Yeah, here we won't do that because we don't have the resources to.
Of course,
to do it. Maybe what we will do, and this is a big maybe, if we have enough time, is add extra hints over time. Like, for example, the original demo, if you were stuck into the train for, I think it was 10 minutes, an extra hint appeared on the wall. So it's like, okay, I'm helping you a little bit. Maybe we can do that, but I am not sure.
Mm.
The difficulty we'll have it will be more on the other parts of the game, like the combat, or you need games to save the game if you're playing on hard, things like that.
So just on that point as well, then, so that kind of classic survival horror save mechanism is something for your hard difficulty in particular.
Yeah. Right now, the goal is like you have to save on save points. If you play on normal, you can save as many times as you want. If you play on hard, you will need the tapes. That's the only. And you can play on hard from the beginning. You don't have to beat the game if you want to play on hard. But
yeah, I think that's the same kind of approach they took in the Resident Evil remakes. So the typewriters were just always there, but it was only once you went to hardcore then, or whatever else. That's when they started adding the ink ribbons and So that same sort of approach.
It is the same approach. Yeah. Instead of a typewriter, it's a tape recorder, and that's it. Like, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. If it works, I'm going to use it. I'm not ashamed of copying stuff. Like, I will admit it. And I think it works very well. Like, it's an extra level of challenge. Like, if you want it, and if you don't want it, play it normal.
No, that's right. I think to be fair, I think that like that kind of game, there's always kind of an expectation that there'll be something, whether it's a tape recorder or a typewriter, or I think they used like in likes of like Tormented Souls, they used like cassette tape reels or something like that as well. But yeah, as long as there's something that you could put in, and then you go, this feels like, you know, an old school survival horror game now.
Yeah, it's the feeling of like, oh, this is a safe room. Like you enter, you listen to music, you are like, okay, now here I won't die. I can rest a little bit.
Let your heart rate come down a little bit.
But to say, even if you are not playing hard, like just limiting you to only being able to save save stations, it's enough to make you feel anxious. Like, okay, what if I die to that enemy that's between me and the safe room? So it's like you have that level of challenge. And
obviously a big part of horror games as well is the music and sound design. Obviously they can create images of all these new games. How have you tackled this music and sound design for Post-Trauma? Have you done it yourself, or have you?
No, for the music, for the original demo, I did a lot of stuff myself. But at the end credits, I used a song from Mew. And then he contacted me and was like, "Oh, I will thank you for using this song in the credits and crediting me. If you want to work in the future," and I was like, "Yeah, I want you, but I have to find a publisher." And then I found a publisher. So about the soundtrack, I've been working with him, and he's been amazing. Like, he nailed the vibe I had in my head. He even improved what I had in my head. So I'm like super grateful with him. I'm really want to show what he's done. It's amazing. I can't praise him enough. Like, he did a super amazing job with the soundtrack. And about the sound design, I did it mostly myself. Like, I tried to I don't know, take inspiration about a lot of stuff. Now we are getting help from another studio to help me with the monster sounds, because those I can do them myself and into the low quality I want. So it's a mixture between me for the soundtrack. I did a lot of sound design myself, and now I'm getting help to elevate what I already had into a bigger level of quality, because I am not a sound designer. Like, I'm happy with what I did, but a sound design studio will do a better job of giving that extra final touch about this sounds now.
Yeah, there's an art to like kind of the layers of different sounds that you can have in those things. I think and like adds to that kind of level of atmosphere and stuff.
Definitely.
And I believe, like, sound is 50, well, maybe 60% of a horror game. Like you play a horror game without sound, it's not scary.
No.
Hmm.
So yeah, I remember being scared about the I think it was, I don't know, on the iPod, or iPod, it was like a Dead Space on mobile, and if you played that thing on with headphones, you were like,
Yeah.
why is it scary? It's I can count the polygons, like I can't really count them, but it was scary. So, and it was the sound. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, definitely. And I think it's so iconic that you can really identify, even if you didn't have any images up of any game. If you listen to the music, you'd say, it's from that game.
Yeah. And with that, I'm super happy with Miu, because he managed to get something that sounds nostalgic, but at the same time, it's its own thing.
Hmm.
Because even if I had a lot of inspiration from Silent Hill, this is not Silent Hill. Like, people have to remember that. Like, if you are coming here expecting the next Silent Hill, I'm sorry, this is not. It's his own thing, and
Yeah.
me, at least with the music, he managed that. Get something that sounds. It reminds you of that time, but also
Yeah.
sounds like something from now, and its own thing. It has its own personality.
So what's been, when you've been putting all this together and obviously working with other people, what's been like the kind of the toughest part of making the game, then the most challenging part of it?
I can think of a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff, really. Like, for example, the part about social media. Now it's a little bit dry, for example, but because I have a lot of anxiety, like maybe here I'm talking a lot, but when I have to talk in public or just reply to tweets, I get I don't know the word, like I get a lot of anxiety really quickly. I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I have to do. So that's hard for me, like connecting with the community, and I'm super thankful that the horror community is way more supportive than any other community, I believe. Like, it's weird, like the people that we are love of gore and scary stuff, we are super wholesome, so like, yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
But that's hard for me. And also, another hard thing for me was at the beginning trying to maintain a schedule, like force myself at the beginning, because right now, because we are a team, I don't have a problem with that, because other people depend on me, so it's easy to do it.
Yeah.
But when I was alone, I was like, I have to do this. I have to stay from this hour to this hour. Like, and I had trouble with at the beginning, I had trouble about knowing when to stop, because sometimes you have a problem with, like, oh, I have to sit in front of the computer and do work. And sometimes you have a problem with, like, I have to get away from the computer and not do work. And that's also really, really important to know, like, because if you overwork it or you try to do a lot more that you can do, the result will show it. And other hard parts was at the beginning, we didn't have an animator, so every time I wanted to add some new mechanic or something more art heavy, it was like, oh, how do I do this without being expensive, because I have to do this, like, so but also not having a lot of resources makes you creative in other ways and improves the game. Like, for example, at the beginning of the game, you were able to open doors and walk through them. But every time we added a door, we had to do animation for opening and closing the door, and the enemies got stuck there, and it was like, okay, what if you go into a door and it's a fade to black and you teleport to the way of the room? And that's cheaper to do. And we tried it and was like, you know what? I like this more. Like, it's better for the game. It reminds me of, like, the old games or recently where you had
Of course. Yeah.
loading transition, but here it's like it's just less than a second, so it's not annoying, but still maintains the vibe of, oh, there's an enemy here, I have to fight it. No, I can go to that door and run away from him, and you are safe suddenly, unless there's some other enemy on the other room. But and that's also a good thing because you are going into a room without knowing what's on the other side of the door.
Of course,
So with the limitation of we can spend money on this thing, we managed to do something that's better. And with that, we also had a lot of things with the game. Like we focus our money onto puzzles, or we focus our money into this design of this enemy has to look really good. And I don't mind if we use this asset of of a train instead of doing one of our own. We will modify this one. So, but it's hard knowing where to use your resources and what give priority to. And managing a team is also really, really hard because I've never been a boss. And now suddenly I have people that depend on me, like, oh, okay. But now I'm super helpful, thankful, and everyone's been awesome. So
yeah. So learning a lot of new stuff on the job, essentially, like from how to market the game to how to guide the team, and
because if I had like my dream, what I enjoy the most, like if I had to do something for myself only, I would like just lighting a scenes. I like I really love how to do level design, composing a scenes, building levels. I really love that part, but you have to do other stuff too. So it's like, oh, now I have to do the logic behind the the saves. Well, not the save is doing the other person, but I have to do the marketing or post on Twitter this thing, or I have to record this thing for this trailer, or I have to ask the animator to prioritize this thing. So like, oh, but it shows in the end, and I'm really happy. And it's because it's something that I like to do. I'm not having too much. It's not too painful.
No, I can imagine. Yeah. Because to flip that question over, what's been the most fun aspect of the game development so far? What have you enjoyed the most?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's for me, it's lights, because I really love how if you have good lights in a game, you can get away with a lot of stuff. Like it doesn't matter like if your models are wrong or if you have a PlayStation 1 model. If you know how to place the lights really well, how to put the camera, you can get away with a lot of stuff. And I really love doing that, like being able to get a quick scene, and then moving the camera here, and then okay, I can put like a lamp here, and then add a shadow here, and then wow, I like this. Or placing like a blood stain here, so your attention goes here, and you have to interact with this thing. I really love that part.
Yeah.
I also really loved adding sounds, to be honest, even if it's just not my strength and I've never done it before. Like I really love how when you add two sounds, then suddenly it comes alive. I don't know. It's like, this was boring and now it feels really good. Also, I really loved managing a little bit the art direction. Like the art director did a lot of concepts, and I really loved seeing the process of he draws something. It's a super weird idea, and then the modeler models it. We send to the riggers, and then they animate it. It's like, and then I can start adding the code like to make it move inside the game. And then suddenly seeing that thing that was a drawing come live into the game, and seeing killing other players, like okay, I made that thing kill this guy. So it's I don't know, it's really fun. It's something that I really love about games, that you can get into any other aspect. Like if you're a programmer, you do programming, but programming for games is really rewarding because you just see the action of you see the reward of what you do. You're like, okay, I made this thing and it's moving, so it's really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of stuff, yeah. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, in terms of where things are in post trauma, obviously there's a lot of stuff kind of you can't really tell us in terms of.
Mhm.
We'd want to kind of go with like, right, when's it coming out? What's happening next? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
But is there kind of any, I suppose, milestones that you're heading towards where there might be announcements in the future, or is that still all up in the air to be confirmed?
We will share important stuff really soon. That's all, everything I can say. Like, for example, I think it was still boring. Someone wrote me on Twitter, like, is the game still in development? I was like, yeah, it is. And I replied to him, it's just, I'm sorry if someone from Twitter is reading this. Like, I'm sorry for not updating a lot the Twitter account. It's because I'm focused on finishing the game and getting it to the level of quality we want. And yeah, it's, as I said before, social networks give me a lot of anxiety. And since the last Twitter now X thing and everything, it's gotten a lot worse. It's like I can't. It's hurting me a little bit in the inside. But we will announce things really soon. It has nothing to worry about the game. So
yeah,
I'm really proud of what we have, and I think people will like it. I think that's the short version of it. Yeah. And I hope they like it, to be honest. But yeah, no, it turned out better to what I expected when I started working on the demo. Like, if you told me 2 years ago that if you showed me the game I have right now 2 years ago, it would be like, nah, you're joking. So, so I think that's a good short version for them.
Yeah. No, as I say, we absolutely loved the demo, and I think everyone in the community did. So, like, we are honestly so excited to see post trauma in its finalized form. And
also,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, and I think when people are kind of eager to know more, obviously, I think we understand you can't say too much too ahead of time, but it's more, again, that kind of, because there has been that positive reception, the community is just effectively clamoring, you know, you've given us something we more.
I know. Yeah,
but
I really want to, but I can't yet.
But that's what I mean. I think it's coming from a very positive place, certainly, and as you said before, obviously the horror community, despite us all being into gore and entrails and everything else, are all wholesome types for the most part.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like, it's like when I started on the demo, I had like some dark times. And it helped me a lot, like seeing a lot of the messages of the people praising it, like a lot of the comments on, even if I didn't reply to all back in the day, for example, on each IO, I had like a lot of posts going on, like every I tried to read all of them. I was like, thank you, like I really loved it. So it's amazing. That's why I want to share what I have, but we have to wait because we are indie, so if we don't play our cards really well, all this effort could go down the drain really fast. So we have to be we have to be very mindful of what you can show when it's better to wait a little bit. So right now, really soon we'll see our stuff, but that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And I thank you everyone for their patience, because everyone has been super patient and really awesome and really supportive. So thank you.
Yeah. No, well, we're very eager to see what's coming next, and I think it's fair to say, very excited with what we've seen so far already and what's coming. So, all very good signs. But for yourself, have you had much chance to kind of play other games this year, and particularly anything that's come out in 2024, or have you just been absolutely deep in the trenches of
No, I
game development?
I tend to after work play some stuff. Like for example, right now I'm really into Tekken. I know it's not horror related, but for me, like I'm like into it a lot. I played some Helldivers too. I think this year I played the Lord of the Fallen. I haven't played too much because I'm the type of person that when picks one game destroys it. Like I think the last game I played a lot was like X4, which is a space simulation game. I played like for I don't know 400 hours. So I'm like I want to destroy this thing because for me sometimes games are like a comfort zone. Like I know I should explore more stuff and see other games, but I'm like I'm safe here and I don't want to move to other place.
Yeah, you
And
know what
now
you like.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that. It's not like that. It's more like to. I like this, and I want to spend time here, and I don't want to check other stuff, even if I know I'm going to like it because I am safe here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with something of ADHD or something like that, but I'm not sure. I don't want to diagnose myself because I think I have it, but I don't want to be like Instagram solve thing. Those people that they can diagnose themselves, but
yeah,
it's more like that. Like when I get my attention to something, I can take it away. So
yeah, you're all in.
yeah. But for last year, I said like the Dead Space. I played Alan Wake. I played Signalis. I played Lords of the Fallen, X4, Sekiro. Well, Elden Ring, of course. I don't know. Bit here and there.
Yeah.
And not nothing like I don't play a lot of games, so I know I should, but yeah, that's it.
So, anything you're looking forward to, or like that might be coming out this year, particularly obviously from our point of view in terms of horror, and later on in the year we have to kind of decide what's the horror game of the year, what are the best horror games and stuff. Is there anything that's
Yeah.
caught your eye? You've thought I want to play that when it comes out, or I need to try that at some point?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my head is Silent Hill, but not because I want to play it, but more because I am scared of. I hope they don't release close to us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, please don't release in this date, please. Like at least give us 1 month in between, please, Konami. Some more like that. But no, because as I told you, like I'm really bad with horror games. So I played Hollow Body. Like I'm looking forward to it because I follow that on Twitter and he's being awesome. Also, Samurai Unicorn. But with AAA games, I don't think so. And horror games, I think the last big one was Alone in the Dark, and I haven't checked it out yet. I should because I heard there are some good puzzles there that I have to see if I can take inspiration from. But I don't think so. As I said, mostly I am scared of Silent Hill because I think I posted this back in the day. Like I want something like Silent Hill, but I don't want a new Silent Hill.
Yeah,
like that's my stance on it. Like I am not saying it's bad to do new things with the IP, but I prefer new things that are like it instead of, or at least a reboot. I think a reboot would be good on the IP instead of stories connected to it. But I am not saying that people that are looking for it are in the wrong. Like it's just like more like I'm always pessimistic with games because I'm always pessimistic with everything, and if it's good, then I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Instead of expecting everything to be good and then being disappointed, so I try to see it the other way around.
Yeah.
But please, Konami, don't release near to us. That's the only thing I am hoping.
Well, I mean, the way things are going, obviously they're being very coy with the release dates, so you never know. It might be it could release on the same day. You don't find out till 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I know. And
Yeah.
once you, I know. And once you look in dates, like we have our date internally, and I don't think we can move it. So if they announce that, then it's like, what? Fuck, it is what it is. So yeah, but still, like, I'm not super fucking worried, but not super worried.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's it. It's not.
Yeah.
I think it's not the original question, like what you are looking forward to, but yeah.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's something we like to ask everyone about what kind
Mm.
of what they're looking forward to, because I think we're still at that point in the year as well where we don't know everything that's coming out either. Like I say, Will in particular has been collating the list of games, and there's an awful lot that's already come out and coming out in the next couple of months. But there's also a whole kind of, I imagine there'll be a load of big things that we haven't even heard of yet that are coming out. It seems to be the trend. So
yeah,
it'd be good to be taken by surprise.
No, definitely. Because I think so far we've had about, I think it's just under 200 games so far this year, horror games, and then I think by the end of the year, I think it's sort of something like 900 horror games will be released throughout the year. So if you were looking to play every one, it's like you'd be having to play 3 games a day to get through all of them. So
yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, and I try to keep up with everything, but I just can't.
No,
I don't know, and I just think that's good. Like back in the day, like I don't know, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I tried to play everything, and I'm more like into like, if I like something, I will try it, or I will try to check it out. Like right now, for example, I am more interested into shorter games, because every time there's a new game, they say like, "Oh, this game is, I don't know, 200 hours to complete." I'm like, I don't have time for that. And then when a game's really good, I'm like, "Oh, I wish it was longer." So it's like, okay, make your mind. But I don't know. And with horror games, it's there's a lot of them, and sometimes it's hard to judge which ones are good to which ones are bad, because we've reached a point where you can fake a trailer really well.
yeah.
And it's annoying, like, because I've seen games that are really good that don't have good marketing, and games that are really bad that have really good marketing. And I'm like, oh, for example, I played this game that I really liked, and I can't remember the name. It was like Only Child. It was from something made in Unreal that was from, I think was UFO something about UFOs made with Unreal, and the inventory was like a suitcase, but sci-fi. I don't know. I really liked the vibes. It was amazing, but no one heard about it, and I was like, this guy didn't promote it really well.
Yeah.
And then I saw other games that had some really amazing trailers, and then you play them, they're like, it's the horror engine template without anything changed. And I used that template to do the original demo, but at least change some stuff instead of
of course, yeah.
Yeah. But that's why I think that's why it's good to see gameplay in trailers rather than just kind of the big cinematic. Anyone can do that kind of thing these days, it seems.
Yeah. It's almost of a warning, I think. If you see no gameplay at all, you're a bit like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And now with Unreal, it's easier than ever. And I'm grateful for that, because as an indie, you are able to compete in visual quality with AAA games. You're like, okay, I can make a human that looks like a human.
Yeah.
That's why I'm able to do the game in third person, because right now it's easy to do a person for a game. So that's a good thing, but also a thing. Nowadays, it's easier than ever to do games, and that's a good thing. But be careful with what you see online. If it's only a game, a cinematic with super high realistic graphics, but no gameplay at all, or very scripted gameplay.
So just kind of coming back to Post Drummer, one last kind of thing, I suppose. Obviously, it's on Steam and people can wishlist it on there. Are you? Is console releases something that's on your radar yet, or is that something that's yet to be thought of?
We are working on it. That's the thing I can say. Like, we want to, but I can't promise anything.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because, obviously the main thing we say for like people who want to check out the games is obviously to wish list on Steam, but more and more now, particularly PlayStation and I suppose to a degree Xbox, but it's like they've got their own kind of wish list equivalent. So if that's there, we kind of try and encourage people to do that. Yeah, but that's not something you guys have yet.
No, right now we are focused on getting the PC version, and as I said, I can't promise anything on console. Like we really want to, but we have to work on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, either way, we'll all be very, very much looking forward to it when it comes out and everything. So I mean, obviously, thanks again for talking to us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And anyone watching this, just to reiterate and encourage, please do check out the game on Steam and wishlist. There will be a link in the description if you haven't already. All that support, I imagine that's your main thing that you'd ask of people to support the game and help out. So there you go. Check it out and do it.
Yeah, please. It was this because it helps a lot. Like if it takes 2 seconds, and for an indie game on Steam, it helps a lot for the visibility when it launches. So thank you. And thank you for having me here. Like, it's been a real pleasure.
It's been a lot of fun, a lot of cool conversation about. And it's always good to talk, I think, with devs, not just about obviously your own game, but also just about games and gaming in general, and see where the conversation goes. So thank you very much again. And with that, we will see everyone next time. But thanks and bye for now.
Yeah, see you next time.
This has been Talking Terror, the official podcast of the Horror Game Awards. Thank you very much for listening. Check out the links in the description for more info on where to follow our guests in order to support them and keep up to date with their work. The Horror Game Awards will be airing live on YouTube on Saturday the 16th of December. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to avoid missing out on what promises to be a very exciting night of awards and game reveals, as well as future episodes of this podcast and other content. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.